I'm Jim.
I'm Steph.
And this is Life at 6 Knots. Terrible.
So terrible.
Hey everyone. So, on my birthday, we had an outlet burn up on the boat. So, I'm going to go through and change all of the outlets and all of the 110 wire from the 110 breaker to the outlets in the boat. So, nothing to do with the shore power coming into the main breaker. So, what had happened is on my birthday, we had come back from being out all night. I think we got to the boat at 2 in the morning. And everything was fine. We got ready to go to bed. Got set up in the V-berth. Stephanie came out to say goodnight to the dog. She'd been in the boat all day by herself, which we feel bad for, but it is what it is, I guess, when you change in the boat life. So she had started smelling something as she came out, and we started looking around. She called me. I came out, smelled some plastic. She called me out and started smelling around. And next to the kitchen outlet, which is actually over here. So the one over here in the galley, we actually had an outlet burning up. So I had immediately turned the breaker off, started taking it apart. We couldn't get it fixed that night. I didn't have the right anything, butt connectors, anything to even fix it that night on board. So it actually got down to about 50 degrees in the boat because it's the winter time. I don't know when I'll be posting this, so you know, who knows, might be the spring by the time you see this video. But so anyhow, here's the outlet that had burnt up. As you can see, I believe this was the power side. I'm not 100% sure the way they had it hooked up. Yeah, that should have been the power side. So you can see on the back as well how it's melted. You can see as well the wires, how they have corrosion on them. So I've got just complete new wire for the boat. And how they actually had this set up is they had this stabbed straight into the back like you would do in a home, which is not okay. You need to have eyelets with weatherproofing or with a heat shrink and actually screw them onto here. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And it was a pretty good scare for being a liveaboard. So to get to the panel is way back here behind the radar, behind the shelf they have the radar on. So I'm going to go ahead and take that apart, and then I'll be back with you guys. Okay, so I went ahead and took out the radar and the shelf, so now we can get access to the panel. But first we're going to go over here and we're going to actually turn off the batteries, and then we're going to go out and turn off the shore power as well. So right down here is our Perco switch, or whatever you want to call it. We're going to go ahead and flip that off first. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and go outside and do the shore power. So, go ahead and flip off the shore power now. And I'm just going to disconnect from it as well, just to make sure there's no accidents or anything. We're going to go ahead and pull off both these panels. I'm going to go ahead and flip the main breaker off, just because. Each one of these just has 4 screws. And once I get all these off, you'll see all of the, and the only reason I'm taking all of them off is just so that it makes it easier to have access to run the new wire behind it. actually already had this all taken apart and looked at it and found where all the wires are run in the boat. I'm going to change it a little bit from where the wires are ran right now. So as you can see, we have full access behind the panels, and we can go ahead and get started running the wires. How this is right now is there's back on the side here, there is a connector that, an outlet that is by itself that is run to the 110 breaker, and then all of the rest of them are ran through one wire and daisy chain throughout the boat. So I'm going to change that, and I'm going to go through this outlet and then down to the other side of the boat. I'm actually going to run 2 separate circuits, so each circuit's going to have 4 outlets on it. It is still going to be the same breaker, but there's just going to be, they're going to be split up better. I don't know if you can actually see in the video here, but you can see how black these connectors are because they've gotten so hot. Probably some of it is due to the fact that we had the outlet burn up and it was probably just getting way too hot with a lot of resistance, so we're going to go ahead and change all that out. So the other thing is, so what I was saying about where it was run is it comes down here underneath these cabinets, and then for some reason it goes outside of the boat to under one of the seats out there in the cockpit, and then back into the boat. So I'm not sure why it does that. I'm going to try to go ahead and just run it straight under, and then come up in the galley area, and then go to the other side of the boat, so I don't have to actually run outside. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that, and I'm not going to bore you with like all the technicals of us pulling wire and stuff, because nobody wants to, you know, mostly see my crack. So we'll just go ahead and leave that out, and I'll just show you hooking up all the outlets and the new breaker and stuff. So as I was taking this apart, and I knew about this because of the survey, but this right here is regular Romex you would find in a house, copper. You don't want that. You want the actual one that is for marine use, and it's a tinned copper and it's stranded, and that's what you use the eyelets on to connect. Because the other thing is he didn't have it connected with eyelets, or whoever it was didn't have it connected with eyelets, and they just had it punched in just like this, like a normal house would be, which is not okay. Vibration stuff can make that come loose, and that could come apart and cause a fire, besides the fact that copper is going to corrode as well. I just showed about that copper wiring, and this is the wiring you're actually supposed to use right here. This is tinned copper, and you can see that it's stranded. And then you're going to want to put the eyelets on the end like I showed. So they crimp on. And I usually give them 2 spots of crimping just to make sure they're going to hold. You grab it, make sure pull on a little bit, make sure it's going to hold. And these are the heat shrink connectors, so that they will be weatherproof. So the only thing actually showing is the eyelet. Alright, so now I got those on. I'm going to take my little butane torch here. Just going to heat up the heat shrink. Alright, and that's it. And then each one of the ends you're going to do that on. And then you're going to go ahead and just, what I did is I actually forced out the screws on the outlets so that I can put the eyelets on them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I'll just show you it when it's done. We've ran some of the wires, and I want to go ahead and get this buttoned up here so that in case we can't finish tonight because it's already starting to get dark, and I want to make sure that we actually have some heat or something tonight. So this is the new breaker that's going in. This is the old style breaker that came out. So as you can see, they're a lot different size. So in here where it goes in, this needs to be bigger for this to fit. I have some other issues that I might not clear the wood here, so I might have to take some of that off. We'll just have to see. But it looks like it's there's basically a neutral bus here and then a ground bus on the back of that panel too. And it looks like I'm going to be able to clear that. So that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and try to drill that out, and we'll see if we can get that to fit in there. I went ahead and got the hole drilled for the breaker there. We did have to bore it out a pretty good amount, but we got that good. Drilled our hole for the screw to hold the breaker in. We did have to do some modification here. Doesn't look pretty, but it's going to work for now. Someday, and I mean someday, I'd like to just go ahead and get a whole new panel, but for now, we gave it a little bit of extra room too, so it does sit in there and fit. I'm going to go ahead and hook up everything and then get just a couple outlets hooked up for the night and put the panels back so that we can at least have heat tonight. We got the last outlet going in right now. Just wanted to show you what we did. So we did 15 amp GFCI outlets throughout the whole boat. And they actually have their 15 amp and then a 20 amp pass-through. So on these specific ones, your line in, which is going to be coming from your utility, goes on the top. Your pass-through goes through the bottom, and then your grounds are just going to be both in the same spot. And I was going to replace the gangs on here, but the new style ones are bigger than the ones that are in here, so I had to do a bunch of cutting to a lot of them. The only one that I did replace was the double one near the sink because it was all cracked and stuff, so I did a little bit of cutting for that one. So this thing, as you're putting it in here, it is very tight squeeze, at least into the old ones, the old style gangs. So I'm just trying to push the wires through the back. Try to get this in here. Alright, so now that I got it in here, I'm going to go ahead and screw it in, and then I'll show you how to actually test the outlet to make sure everything is hooked up correctly before you plug something in. So now that we have everything in the boat, put back together, all the outlets done and everything, go ahead and flip the breaker on. I don't have this plugged in yet. I'm just going to show you how to check to make sure that everything is good coming out of the shore power box. So we're going to go ahead and flip it on, and then there's one with a little notch in it. Then the big one that's next to it is your hot, and the small one is your neutral. So we're going to go ahead and check it. I want to make sure that you have good voltage coming off of it. So going hot to neutral, you should be showing 119 or around 120 volts, something like that. So 119. Then your hot to ground, you're going to want to show basically the same. It's kind of hard to do it with just regular. So there's 118. And then what you want to do is you want to check resistance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on just a tone. And you want to make sure that your neutral is bonded. So you can hear the tone going off. So the neutral is bonded to the ground, so everything's good on the shore power side. So we're going to go ahead and turn the breaker back off. We're going to hook up our shore power line. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and flip the breaker back on. And the other thing you can do as well is you can pull it off of your boat and make sure that your power cord is good as well, and you can check it the exact same way coming off the power cord going into the boat. Now that we have the shore power back on, we can go ahead and start powering up everything in the boat. So we're going to go down here to where the Perco switch is, or whatever you want to call it for the batteries. We're going to turn that back to on, or to all, because we actually have 2 battery banks. And then we're going to come over here, and we're going to go ahead and you're going to flip the main breaker on. And then we're going to go ahead and flip on the 110 volt AC, which on our boat is all of the outlets. So now everything has come on. You can actually hear like the microwave and one of the heaters coming on as well. So now I'm going to take you over to the outlet and show you how to test that. It's kind of basically the same thing as what we tested out on the dock. We're going to go ahead and check this outlet. All the GFCIs, and I've actually checked them all, and I have just gone first one and then down the line turning each one on as I go and checking it. So on these GFCIs you have to hit the reset button for it to turn on. You can see right now that the green light is not on the bottom, which means that there's no power going to the outlet. So we're going to go ahead and push the reset button, and now you're going to see the green light is on. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it is on now. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and test the outlet now. And it is a little hard to get contact in there sometimes. Okay, so if you can see, so we're at 117, which is good, and that's to neutral. Now to ground, 117. Okay, and we're going to go to the bottom side of the switch, or the outlet. 117 to neutral, 118 to ground. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and change it back to our resistance, and then we're going to put it on tone, and we're going to check our neutral to ground bonding on it. Okay, so that one's good, and that one's good. So it looks like everything is good here. Now all we have to do is put the plate on, and we're ready to go.